Hey guys, Lizardlea here for day 2 of My Neighbor Totoro and the Dandelion? That's not what it's called. Where is my paper? I don't remember. The daffodil? It's not a daffodil. What the heck? I don't know what I'm saying. It is a dandelion. Did I say dandelion earlier? I'm really tired. I only just woke up and the sun's not up yet because daylight savings. The US sucks sometimes. I need to do this again. My Neighbor Totoro and the dandelion. It just says and dandelion. And dandelion. Okay. Hey guys, Lizardlea here for day 2 of My Neighbor Totoro and Dandelion. I didn't get nearly as far yesterday as I had hoped, but I've got the base down. I cut it down really small because I've been sticking it on my stand over here while I'm working, so I can just literally look up and see it. I did try uploading it into the app, but it couldn't read it, and it kept telling me, you know, oh, such and such and such and such. So I was like, fine, I'm just gonna print it out and do it the old-fashioned way, especially because it's not very much. And then we just have the dandelions, which you can barely see, but it's fine. I mean, I will say that app is amazing. If you guys have the opportunity to use it, you definitely should. But I did it this way for years. It's okay for me to go back and do it this way still. So yeah, I'm gonna stitch. Hopefully I finish today or get significantly further than where I am now.
Wait, you're all ready over the hiccups?
Mm-hmm.
That isn't fair, because I get them like 6 times throughout the day.
Yes, you do.
This isn't fair.
I'm sorry you're bad at this.
You're not being fair.
I'm sorry you're bad at this.
No, I'm not. You are.
Are we recording this?
Yes, we are.
I see. So the world now knows that you're bad at hiccups.
Well, I mean, I've never made a secret out of it. Okay, so the next anime after Hunter x Hunter, is that the one we just did last?
Yeah, okay, so Hunter x Hunter was number 4, there's another Gintama, and then the next one is Shingeki no Kion, or Attack on Titan. Season 3, Part 2, technically.
Okay, well, we're just going to assume
Yes.
the whole, because the breaking it up into parts is so stupid to me. Because then you should break up Brotherhood into 5 parts. But honestly, I'd rather it just be as one, because I usually have a favorite season, but I don't care enough to separate it. Because, like, if you don't like the other seasons, you're not going to rewatch the show. Like, what's the point?
I can kind of get it if they don't run continuous, but yeah, I don't know. Doesn't matter. Anyways, so...
Attack on Titan.
Yeah, it's one obviously very, 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 very violent, and despairing. I believe the short synopsis is, for some reason, humans in the future, well, we're not even sure if it's the future, but humans in this society live in sort of a medieval-ish looking era, and there's these things outside the wall called Titans, which are basically weird-looking, super tall humans who can move incredibly fast. So all of humanity, as they know it, lives inside this gigantic walled city that's like, I want to say the size of a state, so like huge amount of area.
Well, it depends on which state you're talking about.
Yeah, and then they go out and they try to fight the Titans and deal with stuff as it happens. So that's the spoiler-free part, and then we're going to be diving right into spoilers, because that's really all there is to talk about.
I only read the first, like, few chapters. I haven't seen any episodes, so my knowledge of it is from what I've heard from other people. I know everyone has a crush on Mikasa. Mikasa? Is that her name?
Yeah.
Mikasa? Whatever it is. I
Yeah.
didn't get into it. Like, one of my favorite manga is actually Battle Royale, which is hyper violent. All right, like it is children killing children. It's Hunger Games before Hunger Games.
Literally.
But yeah. She never said it was an inspiration for her, but they're so similar. Anyways, I got off track. I'm sorry. It didn't appeal to me. Like, I don't know. It just, It didn't catch my attention enough for me to want to continue reading even though I knew, like, everybody was reading and watching it. I don't.
So my take was, the first 6, I think 4 to 6 episodes, I forget exactly how far, and I'm going to spoil some really big stuff here, so I think is really quite good. The very first episode pretty much opens with the idea that they've got these huge walls around the city that are hundreds of feet tall, and that's how they've kept out these titans, which are, I think like 30 to 60 feet. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere,
there's like 100-foot tall one.
Yeah, there's one that's tall enough to stand over the wall, and between that one and a couple of others that are weird, they break in, and like a whole third of humanity is lost, because that's how big the area is before the next major wall like that.
Well, isn't it more like almost half? Because each one gets significantly smaller.
Whatever. It's like 600,000 people or something obscene like that. So anyways,
is it Wall Maria?
Yes. So the point is that I thought it was really interesting as an opening because it was very aggressively dark, and it didn't just feel edgy. Like, there was some of that, yeah, but like the way it used the violence and the horror and the despair did a really, really good job of setting up that humans are not super people here. Like, this is not a fair fight. It's not going to be handled by people really believing in themselves and blah, 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 blah. It's pretty much like, nope, wow, there's a whole bunch of dead people.
Yeah, and but then you find out
hold on, you're getting ahead of me.
Well, we're in spoiler range, so it doesn't matter.
I'm going to get there, because that's my big problem with the show. Trying to build up to it, jeez.
I mean, that was the perfect lead-in to it.
No, because there's a certain scene.
Well, you said people don't have superpowers.
Ruining my story, just let me tell you.
Fine. This is yours.
So, the point is that they did a really cool thing for the first couple of episodes, because, yeah, they go into your very, very standard, like, oh, we're going to do the, we're meeting the team of plucky protagonists who are all going to team up, and they're going to save the day, and these are all the friends of the main character, and they're going to be the special people, and he's going to be all the usual junk. So, it happens, and we get to our first episode where, okay, we're going to fight the Super Titan again, and we're going out, and we're foraying out, and they kill half of them immediately, including the main character. He's eaten, and I was like, wow, that was really, really good. If they actually have the guts to kind of pull a twist here, kill half the cast, including the main character, and actually make it about one of the secondary characters, that would be great. And then, as Liz has spoiled, he turns into a Titan.
In that moment? I thought he actually, busted out of the dude's mouth.
No, that's how he busts out. He turns into a Titan, basically.
Wow, is that early on?
Yeah, because it turns out they don't dissolve you. You just get stuck in it. Yeah, it's episode 4 or 5 or 6 or something.
Oh, well, see, I was
That's why I was
manga,
mentioning
so
it, yeah.
I don't know. I don't remember how far I got.
I thought that was really lousy, because the moment I saw that, I was like, oh, I get where this is going. Because now, the whole thing that attracted me to it was the idea that it was going to be a non-fair fight. Like, literally the idea that they had to be dealing with this enemy that they could not fight fair. They have this weird, grappling Spider-Man gear that they've got, but it doesn't really work well, it's really hard to use, and it's not a clear advantage at all. It's very, very obvious that humans are on the back foot here, and that every time you're dealing with these, they're hyper-dangerous, even the basic ones.
It's going to be about wits more than brawn.
Planning, strategy, maybe something. Or if there were super cool people, it's I like one of the old Gundams called 08th MS Team. Gundam's all about super aces piloting mecha, which I swear is relevant to this conversation. And 08th MS Team was told from the point of view of frontline soldiers in that war. Mm-hmm. And you don't see an ace in that entire series except for one episode.
What is an ace?
A super good pilot. Just a protagonist from any other show.
Okay.
Well, yes, no, doesn't matter.
Well, I thought you were saying a Gundam, so I was like, it's a robot.
A really good pilot. You don't see one of the protagonist-style pilots except for one episode, and they wreck every single character you've met, because that's how good they're supposed to be. And so that was kind of a cool way to, again, portray this whole thing. And instead, what I realized, or actually somebody told me, I'm like, yep, that fits it perfectly, Attack on Titan is really violent, different setting mecha. It had a cool twist to lead into it, and then it's just mecha. You have a person who is really talented, who wound up lucking into a superpower that turns out to be relevant, so he can fight all the other people with superpowers. It's the same darn plot. So I dropped it because I thought it was kind of boring and just pulling twists for the sake of twists. And ooh, what could the mystery be? And some of them are really obvious in my opinion, others less so, but I don't care. And then I heard that it got better, and everyone's like, oh, you've got to watch the new season, it's so good, they finally do all this stuff, and it really shows all this cool stuff. And I did. And it was like, wow, that's everything I was worried they were going to do, where they just kind of ramp into stuff that made all the interesting things that I hoped would happen, or I hoped would matter, not matter at all. They aren't important. It's really about something else, and the something else is something I've seen before. And so I was just like, yeah, that's not at all exciting. It would be like if, I don't know, Full Metal Alchemist dropped all the unique stuff and just turned into DBZ. Like, it's
heck
not...
no. Unapproved.
Yeah, so that's my rant on Attack on Titan.
Yeah. As the person that was in the room with him every once in a while when he watched an episode, can confirm he often just went...
Yeah.
Like, he was done... Like, I don't know if you said typical, but, like, there were times when you would just be like, you would sigh, and you'd be like, duh, like, oh, I knew it! Like, you were not surprised by a single thing that they did.
Very few things. And I mean, the things that...
in the most recent season that you watched.
Yeah.
When I was out here, you were not impressed with anything.
Yeah, it was not very impressive in my opinion.
No,
And
not to you at all.
I didn't predict all of it, but at the same time, like, the things you don't predict, it's not about predicting, it's just about, is this interesting, you know?
Yeah, because, like, there have been twists where it's like, yeah, I called it. But that's what I wanted it to be, because that would have been the most interesting thing they could do. And then there are other times where it's like, that was a twist I literally never could have called, and it's uninteresting. Like,
yeah.
If you guys ever read the Dresden Files, which I highly, highly recommend...
We'll talk about that.
I am going to give you a spoiler for the second book, so if you plan to read them, please skip ahead by like 3 minutes. In the second book, Dresden deals with this woman who can turn into a wolf. And she's super weird. Like, she talks weird, she acts weird, she treats everyone weird. It's just odd. At the end of the book, she turns into a wolf, and Dresden's narration is like, I never considered that it was a wolf turning into a human. I always thought it was a human turning into a wolf. And in that moment, my mind clicked, and I turned to Dave, and I was like, holy crap! She was a wolf! For real! Like, she would turn into a human! That's why she was so weird! I never considered that, even though it was actually completely obvious. So it was a perfect twist. Like, that, it made me feel so happy. To date, I am about to start book 15. It is my favorite twist. I don't know if I would say it's the best twist, but it's my favorite. Because he sprinkled, I mean, he threw everything at me, and I didn't pick up on it. But it was perfect. So it's just twists like that, where it's something that you can guess, where you can eventually get there, but they're still good, are my favorite. Like,
yeah,
it was so good, you guys. Like, I hated the second book otherwise. Well, not otherwise, but there were parts of it that just, best twist, though. Best twist.
Right.
Yeah.
So anyways,
sorry,
I guess that's...
completely off topic.
Do I have anything else to say on Attack on Titan?
Who's your favorite character? Is it Mikasa?
It's probably the Potato Girl.
Is that the blonde that can turn into a giant?
No. She's mostly unimportant, and she somehow survived, probably because she's dumb enough to eat a potato in a Marine Corps situation. It's dumb. Doesn't matter.
Okay.
But yeah, no, I don't particularly love any of the characters. They're okay. There are some really, really cool scenes that are animated really well, but even then, I feel like as far as action scenes go, they kind of dilute the coolness of what they're doing with how over the top they try to be, but that's just me, and I'm picky. Again, I feel like they diluted the coolness of the whole thing anyways, because most people just turn into Titans. Some of them still can't, but are still amazing. But then it turned out, no, that's also related to something else. And again, like, wow, way to ruin the fact that they were just cool because they're cool. Nope, there's special Goku DBZ stuff.
So yeah, I was hoping that they would just be regular humans, and it would be all down to strategy and brains. Because I was like, yeah, these are huge giants. Like, you're not going to be able to overpower them. But with enough people, you might be able to outnumber it in order to strategize and kill it. And then they turned into giants, and it was just like, oh. Yeah. Okay, it's brawn versus brawn. That's not interesting.
There's still a lot of strategy in it for this kind of show. Like, they do a lot of work.
It wasn't enough to keep me around on the manga, so...
Well, did you get to the one they fought the female Titan?
I literally don't remember how far I got, because it was not memorable to me.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of theoretical strategy in that fight, like, oh, here's how they lay out their troops so that they can do this, blah, 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 blah. But at the end of the day, the fight heavily boils down to the fact that the main character can turn into a Titan. Other cool strategic things happen, but yes, there's a nice knockdown, drag-out fight between two giant monsters. So, yeah, I don't know. It's a swing and a miss for me. I don't know. Maybe one day I'll read the whole thing when it's done and be like, oh, I was totally wrong. This is brilliant. But I don't feel that way right now for certain.
Yeah, like, for me, that would only be a manga that if I were to read it, it would have to be complete. Because I have to be really dedicated to keep up with something. To, you know, like, wait every week for a notification that, hey, there's a new chapter out, or month, whatever. I don't have
Indeterminate amount of time.
Yeah, I don't have that for Attack on Titan.
Okay,
so what's next? Or do you have anything else?
I don't think I have anything else.
Alright, what's the next one?
There's another Gintama, there's Three Gatsu no Lion, there's another Gintama, there's Planet After Story, there's another Gintama, there's Haiku, which is a sports anime. Haiku. I tried. It's a sports anime I'm aware of. Owari Monogatari.
Owari Monogatari.
Okay, I tried. Also, I've heard of it. I've never seen it. And then there's Code Geass.
Alright, we've seen Code Geass.
Number 14.
Alright. You're better at the summaries with no spoilers. Go.
So take your traditional Gundam and split your super protagonist, Ace, into two different characters rather than having it just be one character. One gets all the piloting skills and one gets all the strategy skills. Set it in future, as all Gundams are, except it's on just Earth. And the strategist gets a rather unique power to try and balance the scales, while of course the Ace gets the really, really cool super mecha. So I think that's pretty accurate. And then there's a little bit of royalty and revenge thrown in there. And of course, high school drama, because, you know.
I mean, I would actually talk about Lelouch's actual powers, because I feel like those are important to the plot.
I mean, yeah, it's like the second episode. Yeah, he can give an order.
As long as you're looking at his eye.
As long as he can see your eye, he can give you one order ever, and you will follow it.
You do not get a choice.
Yeah, he can't give you a second order once he's done that, and he can tell you to, like, you know, literally kill yourself or something else.
And you'll do it.
Yeah, and you'll just do it, no question. So that is the hook, so to speak.
Alright, so spoiler territory. Kind of unrelated to the anime, the man who voices Lelouch in the dub is Johnny Young Bosch, and I have met him. And I have seen his band, iShine, play live, and it's great. He's a very good voice actor. And now every time I hear him, instead of thinking Johnny Young Bosch, I'm just like, oh, it's Lelouch! Which is weird, because I knew him as Johnny Young Bosch before I knew him as Lelouch. Because I met him several years ago, and we watched Code Geass, last year?
2 years ago.
2 years? No, it wasn't that long ago. It was not 2018 that we watched
I watched almost all of Buffy and Angel for most of last year, for a good portion of last year.
Okay, it did not take you that long. We powered through that.
It's a lot of episodes.
We powered through that.
And Supernatural.
You only got through 5 seasons. Don't even. There's like 15, so no. Anyways. So... I mean, honestly, the thing that stands out the most for me for this anime was when Euphemia? Britannia.
The Euphemator.
The pink-haired girl. I was so angry when Lelouch looked at her. And what did he even say? Like,
I could make you kill all the Japanese.
Yeah, something like that. And he was not trying to give her an order. But she went, and then she killed everybody. Which not only went completely against her character, it was just really depressing because she wanted to save everyone and she wanted to be a good person. He didn't want to do that. There were so many better ways that they could have approached that.
Well...
But the way they did it... Well, because he was like, I could say something like, kill all the Japanese, and you would do it. It was
theoretically to show that he was starting to lose control of his powers, but no, that episode, that moment is infamous.
It was horrible.
It still
makes me so angry to this day.
To rant, rave, and gush about Code Geass. First of all, I was in... What year did this come out? Yeah, I was in college when this came out. So I was like at the end of my anime, like not session, but like watching it every day sort of thing, because as I got older I watched less and less. And I had watched a ton of mecha. Like one of the very first animes I'd ever seen as a kid was because my friend had Robotech tapes and the Patlabor movies. So I grew up watching those, and then Gundams and everything else. And Code Geass was really, really nice to see at the start, because while a little bit ridiculous with the usual, like, oh, he's a high school student who's also going to try and change the world and overthrow things and blah, 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 and oh, his best friend happens to be obscenely, physics-defyingly talented. And they happen to just be on opposite sides of the war when they should be on other sides. Doesn't even matter. But it was nice to see that they were kind of actually using some strategy in it, because the whole point is the ace is the ace, and he's super powerful and super good, but Lelouch is super smart, and so it's his strategy versus Suzaku's, Super Gundam. And the designs were cool, and it was fun. And it was junk food anime, but it was really, really fun junk food anime, and it was doing a good job of taking itself decently seriously. And then it probably did better than they expected, and they were told they're going to have to do another season, and as far as I can tell, this isn't even a joke. To some extent, they crowdsourced ideas from the fandom. Like, literally, they were just like, oh, everyone wants this to happen? Okay. Which, I know that happens in other things, too, standard appealing to your fans and whatnot. Like, shipping in CW shows. But, yeah, it was ridiculous, because the show is equal parts like, oh, this is actually not a bad mecha, and then it slowly transforms to, this is completely insane garbage, but it's great completely insane garbage. Like, this is, and it just does the transition so seamlessly, and the point you can scientifically prove it makes that adjustment is the point you were talking about, where, like, gee, that was completely off the wall and handled weird, but I guess they just wanted the character who, like, it's like they literally wrote themselves into a corner with her, where, like, he's going around killing all the royalty because the royalty's treating all the Japanese terribly because they've conquered them.
But she's royal and treating them really, really nicely.
And she's, like, also, trying to meet with him and make him work with her, and finally he goes, you know what, I guess I'll work with you. And they're like, so how do we write our way out of this? I don't know, let's just have her gun down the Japanese with a machine gun in an arena. Like, alright, let's do it. Just complete 180, dive in head first. And it gets absurdly ridiculous, but I thought it was really fun, and you tolerated it.
No, I liked it. I mean, I don't think I'll ever rewatch it.
That's
because
fair.
It didn't appeal to me on that kind of level, but I don't regret watching it.
Yeah, no, it's an
experience.
I think the one I remember specifically that's supposedly somehow involves the fandom is there is a character named Jeremiah who the main character mind controls early on, and he helps him escape. And he calls him, like, Orange Coon or something to try and make it look like the guy was working with him when obviously he just mind controlled the guy. So for whatever reason, he wound up as a fan favorite, and they were going to kill him, I believe, in a very obvious scene. And they don't. They bring him back as, like, part robot, sort of, kind of, maybe, with a power. Or, no, the ability to negate their powers. Doesn't matter. Point is, the fandom really wanted him to ship with a certain person, so they made the maid a ninja, and then his ending is he's in an orange grove living with her, because that's what people wanted, apparently. Like, it's just that kind of complete, ridiculous, over-the-top, stupid stuff out of nowhere, but it's done so well. I hear the new movie is actually, if not good, faithful to what the original experience was like. So I'm probably going to watch that at some point.
We should.
And I still really, really like the mecha design. Like, so much mecha stuff is, I don't know if derivative is the right word, but, like, everything is either a Gundam or a Gundam-like, or trying really, 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 really hard not to be. And this was just cool looking.
And what do you call Suzaku?
Spinzaku.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, everyone's got... there's so many stupid jokes and memes about this show. It's ridiculous.
And what's your favorite story to tell about the soup aisle?
Indeed, that will not make any sense over the internet. If you'd like to know what she's referring to and you have a very random sense of humor, there is an abridged series, and there is... It's rough. It's not even great. I just left it on one night while I coded, but one of the funniest things I've ever heard is in it, and it will make absolutely no sense out of context. So, yeah.
For what it's worth, I hate those. I do not like...
Fun, yes, we know.
No, it's not. I don't like... It's... What is it called?
Abridged.
Abridged. I don't like abridged series. So that's like when a fan gets it, and they replace the dialogue, and, like, they make fun of themselves, they make fun of the show, like, they make fun of everything, and I'd rather watch the original show, because that's what I'm here for. Like, I know Yu-Gi-Oh! Apparently has an abridged series, but, like, I can sit there and make fun of it myself just with what they already have in the original. I don't need to listen to other people doing this. And I've met little Karibo in the real world, and he's very funny. But I just, no, they don't do it for me in the abridged series. So you'll never hear me talking about them other than the fact that I don't like them. But there's a soup aisle skit with Suzaku in theirs, and David loves it, and he tells everyone about it.
I tell people who've seen the show mostly.
You tell everyone.
And then I rant about it randomly, yes.
Yes, you do. Let's see, what else? I don't remember how I felt about Nunnally actually not being crippled.
Or dead.
Because, like, that was...
Well, it was
because the dad, like, made her believe it. So she couldn't see and she couldn't walk. Yeah. And I was just like, oh my gosh, like, this is horrible.
Well, they had also always said that it was an emotional crippling, not a physical crippling. So at least they planned something like that. But...
Well, I just, like, I don't understand how someone could do that to their daughter. Like, that just... blows my mind. I know how horrible he was.
150 or something.
And he was also a horrible human being to begin with. But, like, she was a tiny little girl. Like, I can understand doing that to Lelouch. He was older and a bit of a douche. But Nunnally was just a teeny-tiny baby and a very sweet little girl.
If I recall correctly...
Did he do it that young to them?
Well, no, he did it to them young, but also... I think it was to help her? Well, by his point of view. Then again, it doesn't matter.
I don't remember. I was like, whoa, it's fake. Okay. Because, like, emotionally having it happen to you and having it forced upon you with someone's powers, totally different things to me. I don't remember anything about Cece, except I think she liked pizza.
Yes.
I could relate to that.
Yes.
Shirley had a crush on Lelouch, didn't she?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
she died.
There you go.
Nina had a thing for desks. And then she went crazy, built a robot, and died.
She didn't die.
She didn't die?
She's the one who invented the nukes that they use at the end of the series. That's the whole problem.
She doesn't die?
No.
Oh my gosh. I wanted her to die because, she created the nukes and it was crazy. It was horrible. She didn't die?
No, she didn't.
Oh my gosh, I feel broken all over again. It was so bad. Yeah, I'm Googling it because this is another one
on to the next
where I'm like, I don't remember anybody. Okay, what's the next one?
Because, quick character summary for me. Lelouch was fun, Suzaku was fun. And I think the rest were appropriate for the setting. Anyways, so next one is Mob Psycho, Season 2.
About that.
All I know is I tried it because it's made by the guy who made One Punch Man, or something like that, or same studio. I forget what the connection is. And everyone's like, oh, it's really, really amazing. And maybe it is, but I couldn't get into it. So I've heard great things about it. So if you're someone who likes anime and you haven't somehow heard about it, great. The next one after that is Kimetsu no Yaiba, which is called Demon Slayer, I believe, in America. And I have also heard good things about this, but the problem I have is I tried it, and I hear that it's beautiful. Like, the animation they do is just stunning for certain things. And I didn't get that far, because I was just so uninterested, because it is bog standard, by the numbers shonen. Like, this kid is important because he survived. And, like, there's some neat ideas, but nothing that was happening was interesting me in any way, shape, or form. Whereas, like, Hunter x Hunter and Naruto and the other ones that I've ever stuck it out for usually found a way to, like, get me hooked early on with, like, oh, that's a creative way to do this, or that's an interesting way to... And maybe I'd care more if I, like, hadn't seen this so much. But, yeah, it was just, like, bog standard, by the numbers, good shonen, not like trashy shonen, but yeah. You were actually there. We were watching it together. John was here. Well done, dear.
I have no recollection of this. I don't know.
The
what
next one is
about.
another Gintama. And then another high.
Okay, can we just pass all the ones that are duplicates?
Fine. Shigatsu wa Kimi no Uso. It's a music anime by the looks of it. I've never heard of it.
Ooh, that's pretty.
Yep, well done. So, and then the next one at number 20 is Made in Abyss. So should I give the summary first?
Yes, you should, because I am...
So, it's in some weird world that seems kind of normal.
What?
As in, like, it's not, like, in space or whatever.
Okay,
like, they're
above
normal
ground is
lives.
normal.
Yeah, above ground is normal. But these people live in a world where there's this giant... Their city is literally built around this giant, deep hole that nobody knows how deep it goes. And I mean,
abyss,
yes.
You might say.
Thank you, dear. And it is... People venture into it because there are artifacts to be found that are incredibly powerful. And the problem is that if you go in, going back up causes you problems. So, like, if you only go in so far, going back up will just make you nauseous and vomit. The deeper you go, the worse the consequence for trying to go back up. And that's ignoring that it's got its own ecosystem. It's not just some, like, vertical hole. It's a whole bunch of different worlds, all with their own horrifying flora, fauna, and whatnot. And this story centers on a young girl whose mom is what are they called?
White whistles?
Well, that's what she is, but there's a word for the general. They're all divers or something. I forgot what they're called. Doesn't matter. She, for various reasons, wants to go down there, and she finds someone to go with her. And she is like, what, 10? 13?
12. She's 12.
Yeah. So, yeah. I think that's a fair summary. And I'm going to just throw out right now that it does some stuff that I really don't like and would normally just immediately, like, nope out. But it's so good in many, many other ways. That's why I stuck with it. And also, it is incredibly disturbing and very, very sad. So, warning. Giant flashing neon light. Warning, if that is not your thing, do not look into this.
Yeah, don't do it. Like, so she's 12, and her friends are all that same age and younger. Like, for instance, some of the things that, turned us off was they would string the kids up naked and smack them, beat them, like, if they got in trouble.
I think they just string them up. I don't.
Or do they just string them up? I don't remember. It's been a while, but I mean, like, they string them up naked, and you're just like, that's disgusting.
Yeah.
On so many levels, but. And they do a couple other things, like they come across this robot, and they search him, and it's there's stuff that happens, and you just be prepared.
And I have a pretty low tolerance for all of that junk, so normally I just nope out, but people have told me it's worth it. And yeah, once
you get past, once they actually go into the abyss, that stuff stops.
For the most part, I mean, there's still some horribly terrible stuff that happens to them. But
well, yeah. I mean, the perverted stuff stops.
Yeah.
Like,
well, there's one or two scenes, I think, but yeah.
Maybe, I don't know. It was the extent of it is significantly worse on the ground level. Once they go lower, it focuses on other things.
Yep.
This was the show that, as David likes to tell everyone, made me ugly cry. So if you guys have already seen the show, you know who Mitty is. So for those of you who haven't seen it, and you're not comfortable watching it, I don't know if you want me to explain this to you, because this is really screwed up.
Yeah, I would be very...
People can mute the thing. It's okay.
I know people enjoy listening to you and I ramble about stuff, and I just don't want to, like, go heavy into this, because it is disturbing.
I mean, the one I'm talking about, it starts disturbing, and then it just ends depressing.
You've been warned. Go ahead, Liz.
So, I mean, I don't want to go into too much detail, especially because David obviously is not enjoying this.
I don't mind. I feel like it's okay.
So, Mitty has been experimented on, essentially, and she's immortal. She looks like Silly Putty. Like, she no longer looks human. And she started out human, by the way. But the experiments and everything that was done to her has turned her into this, like, sludge thing. She can't speak. She can obviously understand what's going on around her because she'll go over and try to comfort other people, like, if they're upset. So you know that, like, some part of her, some essential part of her is still there. And she has a friend who was also essentially experimented on, but not to the same extent. There was a thing. She tried to save her. Mitty tried to save her, and that's why it was worse for Mitty. Yeah. And the friend comes across the main girl, Rico is her name, and the robot. And she's like, "Oh my gosh, Robot Man, like your beam power is so strong. Can you kill Mitty?" Because Mitty is just, she's immortal, and like one of her eyes is permanently gone, isn't it? Like, it was so bad, but
that's actually what makes them think the robot can do it.
Yeah. Well, no, I thought her eye was already gone before then, wasn't it?
Yeah, because the thing that caused that eye to be gone is
the same type of power. Yeah, okay.
So she's like, that's the only thing.
Yeah, so like you could kill her because she's like, Mitty, I'm going to eventually die, and Mitty will still be here, and like she's just going to get tortured because people are going to experiment on her further and be like, whoa, she doesn't die. Can you kill her? And at this point, I'm already sobbing, all right? I am already ugly crying. And I turned to David, and I told him, if Mitty does not die here, I am going to break up with you. And he tells everyone this story about this show.
So my point of view on this is, first of all, I almost cried at the scene the first time I saw it.
Almost, you heartless heathen.
Sorry, dear.
Ugh.
No, I felt terrible. Because it's a really rough scene. And it's done very, very well. And it's brutal. And so either way, this all started because I watched something with you. And then I was like, well, yeah, Made in Abyss is pretty bad. And you're like, no, let's watch it. I've watched lots of messed up stuff. I can watch anything. And to your credit, you finished it.
You're darn right I did. And I want to rewatch it because the new movie is out.
Yeah. But, that said, we got to this particular scene, and yeah, you were like completely broken down in tears. Like, I wasn't sure if you were breathing okay. I was worried you were having an asthma attack. So I was like looking for your inhaler. Just so, like, I knew where it was, like, in case it was one.
Which he didn't know where it was, because he's too scared to go near my purse, like a dumbass.
No, I knew where that day it was. Mm-hmm. So either way, yeah, and you were, like, sobbing, and then you sort of, like, through your tears, threatened me, like, if he doesn't die, because...
I said, if Mitty doesn't die, I'm going to break up with you.
Mm-hmm.
I remember saying that. You remember me saying that. You tell everyone I said that.
Uh-huh, you did.
And you guys should know, since we are still together. Mitty dies.
Mm-hmm.
And I was still ugly crying, but then I was also happy because I was like, she's finally out of her suffering. Like, thank you. Yes, this is what needed to happen.
Yeah. So, moving on from that story, I do really like this anime just because of the world building and the way it handles everything.
Oh, every new level is spectacular to see. It's a beautiful movie. Like, the style of the people is really creepy.
Yeah.
But the creatures they come across, amazing. The designs are really unique. Okay, why did you say sure? You didn't think it was a gorgeous movie?
No.
Or show? I said movie.
I said show, yeah.
Oh, okay. Is that what you're making fun of me for?
No, I was just correcting you. You said movie, I said show.
You
just did it yourself.
I switch show and movie a lot. My mom does the same thing. I don't know where it comes from. I don't know.
So anyways, what I really liked about it is there's these games that I've played that are called roguelikes, where the idea is you get a character, you try and build them up. They're not really technically anything special. You usually have a zillion different classes and skills and whatnot that you can use. And the point of the game is twofold. One, you're usually going into a dungeon or a forest or something that's got many levels. One of the more common ones called Dungeon Crawl has like 20-some levels, and that's just if you focus the main ones. That's not including the like 7 or 8 different branches that shoot off from it. And 2, if you die, it's game over. You have to start over. So it has this really cool progression feeling of you starting out as this weird, wimpy little character who's kind of like all the other weird, wimpy little characters. And by the end of the game, you couldn't even recognize what your character has become. Now, granted, these games are done like 2D art style, like very, very low res and whatnot. But the idea being that you're basically this tiny little godly like creature that's no longer anything like what started out going in. And it's taken a long time to get there. And this anime is kind of like that in that the whistles, the white whistles.
Sorry, I'm giving David weird looks because I have no idea where he's going with this.
That's
so
where
you may continue.
I was getting to the point.
Well, you paused and looked at me like, "What's wrong with you?" So I wanted to make sure everyone knew why there was a weird pause.
So yeah, no, the point of this whole anime is that as you dive in, you find crazier and crazier and more powerful stuff. And the farther down you go, the harder it gets to go back up until you get the point of no return because going back up will kill you. Just no questions asked. Like, not just maybe kill you, like, just straight, you will drop dead. And as they go deeper and deeper, it's not just the monsters that get weirder and weirder in the ecology, it's the people. They are literally less and less human because they have spent their entire lives in this horrific, nightmarish... It's not even a hellscape, it's like just alternate world.
Well, I mean, for a human, some of them are.
And they've had to pick up all these weird items and use them to become more and more powerful, and they just basically aren't the people they were when they left. They are no longer humans. And it's that exact same kind of progression that it puts me in the mind of, and that's part of why I really like it, because it's just such a unique thing to see done well. And then on top of it, yes, it's gorgeous, the pacing is really good, the scenes are really good. There's a lot of dumb stuff, as I mentioned. Well, not a lot, but there is dumb stuff, and it's really dumb stuff. But there's also some... It's a setting that you will think about constantly after you watch it. It is incredibly memorable. And yeah, I'm excited to see the movie. And I'll have to make sure we have tissues.
Yeah, because I'm going to need those. I don't know, like, Mitty was the worst for me. David's best friend Alex said the worst scene for him was... Riku, whatever her name is, her arm. That also messed me up because that was, oh my goodness. So what is it? She got poisoned?
She gets poisoned. Because, like, really quickly, before you go into the story, let me set this up. The other thing I like about the show is that it has consequence.
Oh,
so the idea is that you're kind of getting to the point in the anime where, especially in any other anime, it's like, oh, they've adapted to the new world they've gotten to. They're starting to get acclimated to what they're dealing with, so now we're going to deal with the fact that they're competent, but so are their enemies. And the idea is that just as they're getting to that sense of security, something goes horribly wrong, because they're fighting this incredibly dangerous creature, and the main kid's like, okay, I've started to respect how dangerous all this is, I've got a plan, things are good, we've got this, and it stabs the girl, and it's venomous. So now she's got poison, and it stabs her in her hand, and you want to take it from there, since...
So... They weren't even able to kill that thing, were they? Didn't they have to retreat? Yeah, they had to run away.
The other gimmick here is he has a grappling arm, which is actually kind of an interesting gimmick in a place where going up can kill you.
Yeah, so he does bring her up, doesn't he? And then she starts bleeding from literally every orifice.
Yeah.
So it's already like... Wow, okay, she's been poisoned on her hand. This is going to get really bad. And now they're going up, and so that could potentially kill her. This is like 4th level?
Something like that, I forget.
So they're pretty down at this point. And eventually her hand starts to turn purple and just her whole arm starts to balloon, doesn't it? Or is it just her hand?
Up.
Was it just her? It's been a little while.
A good portion. Arm, hand, but she's drawn weird, so arm.
This is true, hand. But I mean, like it becomes like 3 times the size, and it's getting worse. And she starts crying and freaking out and telling him to cut off her arm. And he's just like, what? No, I don't want to do that. And she's like, if you don't cut off my arm, I'm going to die. Like, we don't have the antidote for this poison. And he takes what? An axe? He takes some
rock.
Oh, was it a rock?
It's a rock.
Is it See, it's been a while, all right? Rough. I've seen it once. It's very rough. And he breaks her arm. Several times.
Because he messes up. The point is, he basically figures out a way to do it, and he messes it up, and all he does is break her arm. So now not only is everything else wrong, her arm's broken and he hasn't even finished. It's a really brutal
he never fully gets through it. He never amputates her arm, which is nice. She gets to keep her arm because they do find someone who does have an antidote. But she has permanent damage in her arm now. It's what she can't make a fist fully anymore.
I think, yeah.
And then her arm didn't mend correctly, so she can't extend it fully. Like, she is permanently screwed up from this scenario. And I think she actually still thanks him for trying to break her arm, or to cut off her arm, doesn't she?
Something like that, yeah.
Like, he is so upset about this, and he's, he's not happy, and he's especially upset that he wasn't able to break her arm off, or cut her arm off.
He was useless in a crisis.
Yeah, so he's upset, and she's still thanking him, which is even more upsetting, because it's just like, when you're upset and you feel like you've wronged someone, you want them to just yell at you. Because then, like, you feel like you have something you can get past. But if they've already forgiven you and you can't forgive yourself, it makes it really hard. Like, I could understand where he was coming from with that. So that really hurt me on both levels. But, ultimately, yeah, it's good. Because she kind of needs that arm. But she can't use it the way she used to.
Yeah, no,
It was, oh my gosh, it was so messed up, you guys. Like, if you can't handle that, you should not be watching it, and you probably shouldn't be listening to this. Although we gave him the 2 worst things that happened on the show.
Pretty much, yeah. There's a few other really disturbing...
what else is really, really bad?
Well, not in that manner, but just, like, obviously the actual scene of the testing on MIDI.
Oh, on MIDI.
Yeah.
See, I feel like everything involving MIDI is...
Yes, just pretty much, yeah. That's when the show goes, by the way, this is how this is going to be.
Like, she's experimented on and tortured. Like, Yeah, it's not... And she was younger than 12, wasn't she?
Yeah,
they started at, like, 9 or 10 or something?
Yeah, it's not a change.
Oh, it was so bad.
Yeah. And then, yeah, there's the, and just the way they do it is also brutal, because it's not just like, oh, this is awful, like, it's emotional trauma for somebody else, and just... all this aside, it is still really, really something else. Like, it's got really gorgeous imagery, and it does a really good job of conveying the sort of alien nature of the junk they're dealing with. There's the curse repelling box or whatever, because the main point is the girl's mother is a white whistle. White whistles are the ones who go so far down that they can never come back up. They're the elite of the elite of the elite.
Most powerful ever.
Yeah. She was born in the abyss, this main character. And they had to take her back up. And they weren't past the point of no return, but nonetheless, that should logically kill a child.
Oh, yeah.
But they found, and it did, but they had this thing called the curse repelling box, and they threw her in it while they were taking her back up, and you get told early on, oh, it protected her from the curses. And what it really did is, no, she died. It just, like, brought her back. Mm-hmm. And the thing itself, like, just the way it's designed and looks, for something that does basically nothing for the entire show other than just this one scene, it's a really great design for conveying something that's supposed to be, like, eldritch, evil horror. Like, it's not even necessarily inherently evil, it's just you don't understand what this is, and it looks foreboding, like creepy, and just, I really, really like things that pull that off well, and this is some of the best I've ever seen, especially because of, like, the stark contrast with how it looks in this beautiful freaking lush valley that's in the middle of this hole to hell. So, yeah.
That first level was just full of greenery everywhere, and it was really beautiful. And they only came across a few big bad guys, but they were like huge flying serpents or something, right? Like, it was ridiculous,
you
guys.
There's it's
insane. But
it's also on hiatus. I don't know if it's on hiatus, but I know that, like, the guy who's writing it went from, like, putting one out every month to, like, maybe we get one a year, which sucks, but yeah.
Oh my gosh, you guys, like, yeah, it is not easy to handle. As someone who loves, like, the Saw movies and horror movies in general, this is a whole other level. And if you are not prepared to just sob, you should not be watching this.
Yeah.
Because you don't have a soul if you don't cry. Granted, now that you know what's happening, maybe it won't make you cry. I don't know. But, oh my goodness. Like, it's insane. I don't even...
Do you want to go over another one now?
Do we have enough time?
Oh,
There's like a minute left.
2 more.
2 more in 1 minute?
In the sense that... So, the very next one is called Rakugo. It's actually got a much longer name than that. And I actually started watching it, and it's about Rakugo, which is, I guess, a style of Japanese art form. I guess performance art would be the proper term. And all I can say is I know a lot of people who've watched it who like it, and it definitely seemed interesting, but I just wasn't interested enough. Like, sometimes you're in the mood for, like, an action movie, and sometimes you're in the mood for, like, a deep documentary, and I was not in the mood for whatever this is. And kind of dropped it. So I've heard good things about it. And then the next one I figured you wouldn't want to spend too much time on is Cowboy Bebop.
Well, no, you like that one. You could talk about that one.
I mean, there's not actually too much to say about Cowboy Bebop because it's so freaking famous.
Is that the one with Valentine?
Yeah.
I hate Valentine. I love the Corgi, and Jet was my favorite character.
And he lived.
And he lived.
And it's the only scene with me that you don't like. So there. I'll find more stuff and your favorite character gets, fricasseed by episode 7.
We started watching what was it?
It Invaded.
It Invaded, that's what it is. And I did not enjoy it. Good. And right near the end, it was like 1 episode prior to the ending, my favorite character died. The only character I liked died. And I was just like, what the heck? Like, I could not win, even in an anime that I don't like, but the one character I do like dies. Like, I can't win, you guys. And I just...
Okay, so yeah, we can save Bebop for the next time, I guess, and then, yeah.
Jet doesn't die in Cowboy Bebop.
And you hated it. There.
I didn't hate it, but I did not like it. I will never watch that one again. No way. And that is the end of this episode.
And that is the end of My Neighbor Totoro and Dandelion Day 2, which is also the end of all of it. I finished it. Look how cute he is. The fan's on, so it's moving it a lot. I got 7 hours and 28 minutes of footage, so I got a bit more than normal, or well, than lately, not than normal, because my normal's still like 8, but my normal now is like less than 7, so me. I don't like to be mean, but this was probably one of the worst patterns I've ever had to work with. Ever. So, like, it's nice the person gives, like, 5 different versions of the pattern, but every single one of them is... So, maybe it's just my eyesight, maybe it's my laptop, I don't know. But it was incredibly difficult for me to distinguish between the different backstitching colors. Like, apparently there was supposed to be... That's not the backstitching one. Where's the backstitching one? Did I throw it away? Because I didn't need it, because it was in black and white anyways. Here we are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different backstitch colors. Alright? I did 4, I think. Maybe. Like, I couldn't distinguish between the different greens. The shades that the person used, nearly identical. And I'm not talking about when I printed it out in black and white. I'm talking about I had it on my laptop, because I was like, I can't see anything. At least on the laptop, I was like, alright, I can see a green, a black, a white, a potentially darker green. I'm not sure. Like, I could barely tell between the dark green and the black. Like, no. And then all of the backstitching, like, she completely avoided, or I said the creator completely avoided the holes. So I was constantly having to do, like, all right, a full stitch, full stitch, full stitch, half of one. And it was just like, no, just use the holes because it makes it so much more easy to work with without... Oh my, it was so frustrating. And then the pattern, so this part here was half stitches,
And the only reason I know that is because I looked at the sample picture that the person had on their Etsy, because looking at the pattern itself, like, it says the half stitches symbols are gonna look, okay, you can't, it doesn't matter. They're gonna be, like, one of them is in the top left corner, and everything else is the exact same symbol for the color in a regular stitch. So that's not helpful. And then you get to the pattern, and it like duplicates it. And I was like, what does that mean? Like, you don't have that in the legend. What does that mean? It's just very poor. I don't regret it. Like, I think this came out really, really well. I'm really happy with the pattern. But I will never do it again. And I will never buy from that person again unless that's like 6 years old and they've gotten better. Because I'm just a brat. I apologize. I'm still going to link it at the bottom. Don't leave them any nasty comments. If you want to try one out, go for it. If you don't worry about it. It's not worth it. I just letting you know, if you do buy something from this person, be prepared that their pattern may not inherently make perfect sense. Okay, I've been talking for almost 5 minutes, so I am going to sign off because I have to go to bed. I am going to be working from home for the foreseeable future because of the coronavirus. That's how everything's going now. All of the schools here were shut down until April 6th, so lovely. This is crazy. Okay, I'm going to sign off now. Like, subscribe, share, comment, all that jazz. I'll see you guys in the next video.